Thank you for joining us at FTP Sports Games. This video will give instruction on how to set up the team stat books for each of the individual teams for any season sets you purchase for courtside basketball. Within the statistics folder of each season set, you will see team stat books assigned to each team. When you open it up, it'll look something like this. In this case, it's the team stat book for Boston, and this is from the 1985-86 season. You will notice that it has the team name, the name of the coach, the schedule for the team. This section, which is not populated yet, that's what we're going to discuss now, shows the player statistics as logged throughout the season. As you scroll down, it gives you team statistics, and then here is the active roster. The players are showing, but it's not in order yet, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to place these players in order so that it gives you an active roster with the starters occupying the first 5 places and then the bench places 6 through 12. Once you're done, your team stat book can look something like this. This is my team stat book for the Boston Celtics from a 1985-86 replay that I'm doing. Second time around. Enjoyed it so much the first time, I'm going through the replay process again. And as you see here, I've colored the team name and added their team nickname in the team colors for the Celtics. Very famously, green and white. You can add a logo here by searching the internet, copying an image, and pasting it into that section so that their logo is showing. And this has been done slightly different for the team stat books that are in the season sets, but in general, this is what it'll look like. And these are the season stats for the Boston Celtics, and this is what their active roster looks like. For the Lakers, their team stat book looks a little bit something like this. Again, I put the name and the nickname for the team right there, and put the team colors, the purple and kind of yellow gold for the Lakers, and it looks pretty cool. And then the statistics for the season, their record, streaks, etc., etc. Down here, the active roster, we see Magic is injured for 10 games, and he's going to return for game number 20. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to make these team stat books look like those in preparation for games that you will play using the Courtside Basketball Computer Game Center. So the first thing we need to do is we need to piece together the active roster. So you click on the red active roster tab and it takes you to this section here. What we're going to end up doing, we're going to assign numerical values 1 through 12 here that will allow us to click this sort button and then order the active roster. Some information on this insert comment here, the hover over, talks a little bit about that, and it mentions that you place the starting point guard in with the number 1, number 2 is the starting shooting guard, 3 is the starting center, 4 the starting power forward, and 5 the starting small forward. And then you assign the players 6 through 12 on the bench from there according to minutes played. And if you happen to have less players available for a game than 12, then you need to fill out the remaining spots with the non-roster position. This is important because in a later video I will discuss how to use the basketball simulator to quickly play games that you don't want to in a replay, or if you just want to do some matchups really quick to see what the outcome will be. The active roster is what is pasted into that basketball simulator to give you the final score. All right, so let's put together the Celtics roster here, and let's go with the starting 5 first. Obviously, the starting point guard is Dennis Johnson. The starting shooting guard is Danny Ainge. And again, I'm just using the drop-down menu. You can type in the numbers if you want to. Either way works just fine. Robert Parrish, again, this gives you the order, is the starting center. Kevin McHale, the starting power forward, and Larry Bird, the starting small forward. I assigned them this way just so you could quickly go 1 through 5 with the center in the middle, and that's how we end up assigning numerical values. Now we're going to look at the bench. The first player off the bench, minutes played wise, is Jerry Seasting, followed by Bill Walton. Then we see here, and you can do this with the player cards in front of you too, so that way you have the minutes played on their card. Number 8. Then we would follow that up with Rick Carlisle in the 9 spot. Then David Thirdkill. Then Sam Vincent. And then lastly, Greg Kite. You notice here Sly Williams isn't included. He only played 6 games during the season, so right now he's not on the active roster, so he's not dressing. And then the non-roster spot here is always left at the bottom unless you need to use it. So let's go ahead and put the roster in order. You click this sort roster button here, and it automatically sorts them and puts them into the order that we need them to appear in. Alright, let's do the same thing for the Lakers. Again, stat book looks the same. Go to the active roster. Starting point guard, Magic. Byron Scott, second spot. Kareem, 3. Kurt Rambis, 4. And James Worthy, 5. And off the bench, always Michael Cooper, right? First guy off the bench for the Lakers. And then let's kind of look here, and just off of memory, who basically is on the active roster at the start of the season. Maurice Lucas, 7. Going through. AC Green, 8. Mike McGee, 9. And then let's go Goodmanson. He wasn't on the Lakers during the 85-86 season until the very end. So let's go Kupchak at 10. And Larry Spriggs at 11. Just for fun, let's dress Chuck Nevitt. Alright, once we have all those assigned right there, you click the Sort Roster button, and there it is. Now say for example that, as you saw in my replay, Magic is injured. Simply delete the number there and maybe dress somebody else. Maybe put Cooper at the starting point guard, so we'd slide him up to a 1, and then you can rearrange all the players minutes wise here, or just simply put Ronnie Lester. Maybe we scratch Chuck Nevitt and put Ronnie Lester in instead. And you'll notice that we only have 11 players though, and maybe they don't have anybody else dressed, so we go back to non-roster, and maybe he's the 12th man because Magic's hurt, and they didn't assign anybody else onto the active roster. Sort it, and then now Michael Cooper is the starting point guard, and you'll see that the non-roster spot is the 12th position, but numerically we just put it at 13. It doesn't matter what numbers you assign them as long as they're in order so that it can sort it properly. But if we wanted to do it properly, we could just bump everybody out a slot numerically like that, and then it would look a little more official. And there you go. But it doesn't matter. See, when I click the sort button, it's in the same place. Alright, so we have the active 12-man rosters, and what that does is it gets everything ready, but it doesn't quite finish the process. Because you'll notice here, this is still empty. On the actual team stat books, they're not, but on these that we're creating right now, they are. So next, we're going to do one important process that is only done at the beginning of the season. It's only done one time. The first time that you set up the team stat books, we need to take these players here and assign them on the Players tab, Stats tab, to fill up these different areas for the game logs. You'll notice their game logs clear down to 82. And as you click the space over here, player 1 always stays in a locked position, and then you simply click over here and it brings up each player. So we need to assign the player names here, and in order to automate that for you, we're going to do one simple process. Go over here, click to slide over once, and you'll see a button. It's over to the right because you only do this once. Alright, it says Organize Player Stat Sheets. Click only once for the entire season. So what this is going to do, when we click this, and you'll see what happens here, you'll see that this section is highlighted, and what it has done is it has gone through and automatically placed the players as they appear in order here in the player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4 positions. And once that's done, you'll see here that when we go back, now they're appearing in this order. And throughout the rest of the season, this is how the team summary page will look. And as games are played and statistics are accumulated, it'll start to fill out this information here, so it ends up looking like this over time. And since we haven't played any games, it's empty right now. As soon as we start logging statistics, that will change. When you scroll down here as well, obviously there's no team statistics logged yet. And right here, the active roster is in order, and it's ready for us to select so that we can then import that into the Computer Game Center and start playing games. Again, this is a pretty simple process. You open up the stat book, you go through back to the active roster, the red tab, you order these players 1 through 12 how you want them to appear right here for the rest of the season, and then also in the order that they should appear according to how you want them for the starters in slots 1 through 5, and then the bench 6 through 12. And then once that's done, we've already clicked this button. You only do it once, because if you were to click it again, what that would do is if this is rearranged, it will change the names of the players, but all of this information for the statistics would be the same. So in essence, what would happen is it would mess up over here the players assigned to the statistic lines, and we don't want to do that. So that's why you only click that button once. Once you're back here, if you wanted to change team colors, all you'd have to do is right click, go to Format Cells, and then Fill, and then there's all sorts of colors here. Fill green, let's do font white for the Celtics, and it changes it. And then double click on it, and you can add their nickname, etc., however you want to do that, however you want to customize it. And then after you start playing and accumulating games, you can change it, and it starts to look like this, or the Lakers here. So this is what you do to set up a team stat book for each team the first time for a replay. And then that also at the same time that it sets up the team stat book, it places the active roster here so that you can select it easily, and then that information is transferred over to the Computer Game Center. Well, thank you for joining us at FTP Sports Games.